our parents meeting first before we start the lesson. So let's go through some of the things that we have done in the lessons. Again, our first 5 lessons in fact. So we realize out of the 5 lessons, actually 3 of them are those lessons labeled with the parts 2, which means that actually those topics were learned before. Okay, so what we are doing now is that we are starting on harder parts of the question, and then yes, as you can see, we have tried many of those NMOS questions. Again, the real questions, be it from round 1 or even round 2. So for those topics that I have gotten through, okay, I hope that you guys still remember how to do it and are kind of more prepared for the actual competition. So to praise all of you first, it seems that based on the statistics, okay, it seems that most of you are able to understand what is going on in class. Okay? But if you don't understand anything, feel free to tell me. Okay? So let's see how do we do for our first few lessons. Okay, so for our after class quiz, the average is not bad. Okay, 6.7. Okay, which means that yeah, usually one question is done wrongly. Okay, but of course there are always careless mistakes. Okay, never read the question properly, or a lot of other reasons why the after quiz average is only 6.7. So maybe we can do a bit better. But for our before class quiz, this is much better. The average is 7.8. But let's see how can we actually do it slightly better. Okay? This is where it comes in. We see that for those students who did consistently in their daily practice, again, those that got submit the daily practice to me, yes, their before class quiz average is around 8.7. So there's about like a 1 mark difference between those that submit their quiz and those that don't. Okay, so it seems that doing the daily practice kind of help with our before class quiz. Okay, it seems yes. So let's look at some of the daily practice statistics. We realize that the submission rate is only 67.6%. Okay? But don't worry, this is pretty good already. I know that there are some other classes where the submission rate is below 50%. Okay? So good job everybody, at least most of you got submit. Alright? And then the accuracy rate is quite similar, 68.8%. But I know that a lot of you will do your corrections. Okay? So for those of you who realize that some of the questions I did wrongly, the corrections I don't understand. Okay? Remember, you have to come and ask me. So as we can see, let's now look at some of the problems. Is that yes, our submission rate for daily practice is still not high enough. But I'm pretty sure I know that some of you actually want to do it, but you forgot to submit into the app. So some of the parents have been sending me the daily practice, and I try to record them in the system. But because our system, as you know, is not that great, yeah, sometimes it doesn't show up in the system, sometimes the marks are not updated, sometimes my comments don't even show up there. Okay? So one thing I want to say is try to submit the daily practice 1 question per day on the app to make sure that none of these errors actually come up. Okay? Because yes, sometimes when I submit all 6 together, then on the parent side I realize it is not there. Okay? But aside from this, onboarding is where questions are asked right before or during lessons. Okay? So yes, I agree that questions are good. Okay? Asking me questions means that you are actively trying to learn. Okay? But asking last week's questions right before our class,
No.
what's the problem with that?
You should have asked last lesson.
Not just that you should ask last lesson, it could be that you are doing revision at home, right? So you realize that there's a problem. You should be asking right then. The problem with asking right before lesson is, before lesson we are doing the before class test, right? So if you ask me during or before the before class test, do you think you are fully prepared for that test?
No.
No. So do you have enough time to understand what I just told you? Also, no. Right? So try to ask me earlier. Okay, and fun fact for all of you, actually I am in office usually every day until 10 or 11. So if you send me messages that ask for help or you need me to call you or something, yes, usually I'll reply and I'll be in the office. Okay? So yes, ask me more questions and ask me immediately when you face those questions. Okay? And well, some suggestions on how can we do better. So first thing is that most of you know that AMOS, the official date is released. Okay, it is in 15 July. So today is what date? The 1st of March, right? So parents, you realize that there is only 4.5 months left. So our plan is that from March to April, which is this month and next month, I'll be sending the AMOS past year round 1 papers into the group. So your job is to try to let your child do that paper. And do that paper and then, okay, make sure that, like here it says, 1 set per week, and the important part is you should notify me of the results. Okay? So like which questions is having problems with, which questions is able to do, and which questions he has never learned before. Okay? And that way I can incorporate those questions into our future lessons, such as those like maybe next week or next week. Okay? So depending on the feedback I get, I'm better able to cater to what all of you and your child needs. Okay? And the other more important part is our practice and daily practice to be completed on time. Okay? I cannot stress how important it is. Daily practice, as you can see, what's the main aim of it is that it makes sure that your child actually remembers the content learned in class. Okay? The questions are not made to be hard, they are made to be pretty easy, and yes, so it's to help them refresh their memory. And then for bringing up questions and asking me directly, okay? So, this one is directed to you students, okay? So when you come to me with questions, try not to come to me with a blank piece of paper. I don't know how to do this question. Then ask you which part you don't understand. Everything. Okay? So that is not a very effective way of asking a question. Why? So you see, the comparison between coming to me with an entire page of wrong workings, at least from there I can know that which part of the question you don't understand or you're having problem with. If it is a blank paper, then all I can do to you is I just explain the entire question to you. And then maybe you don't understand like some of the parts in between, you just think, oh, so that's the answer. Okay? So to learn actively, you still have to try on your own and let me help you identify your mistakes. Alright? So when you bring your questions to me, okay, make sure you write some working or try to understand the question first. Okay? And then, yes, for those of you who are actively doing those papers and your daily practice or anything, so remember there's this thing called the correction booklet that I've distributed in the first lesson. Okay? Will all of you remember? Yeah. What color is it?
Blue.
Okay, so that's a blue correction booklet. But I rarely see it on my table also. Okay, so that means that not many people are doing the corrections, right? So the correction booklet actually is for you to write down those questions that you are confused with or those questions that you originally did not know how to do, but after I explain to you or you look at the answers, you realize, oh, so that's how it is done. So your job after you write into the correction booklet is that try to set a schedule, maybe like once every 2 weeks, where you look through the entire correction booklet and make sure that you fully understand all those questions there. So what parents, all of you can do is try to make sure your child writes down the wrong questions into the correction booklet and just have a fixed timing on revising through it. Alright? And then lastly, yes, so during our March holidays, we'll be having some events such as a mock test. Okay? So for those of you who are free, you can come over and yes, I'll be invigilating just like the last few competitions like the Spring Cup and those other events. Okay? So I'll be sitting probably in classroom 1 in front, okay, just like last time, and then I'll invigilate. Yes. And there are also other events. So for parents, Yes, so we have also Zoom online classes as we are getting closer and closer to NMOS. Because yes, there's only 4.5 months left, so we're trying to make sure that students get enough practice and enough feedback on all the other questions that are commonly tested. So I will not go into very detail about the exact dates and other events that might come up. Just note that there will be events and I'll be updating all of you in the group. Okay, so now some overview of our next 2 term lessons. So for our holiday term, there are 8 days, which means 8 lessons. The most important field is the butterfly model, the swallowtail model, and distance problems. Okay, these 3 topics are heavily tested on in NMOS, so we'll be focusing on those topics during the holidays. As for our term 3, which is after your holidays, okay, in June, yes. Okay, so yes, we'll be going through much more harder topics now. Okay, some topics maybe you haven't seen before, such as circles and sectors, or advanced angle calculations. So in term 3, what we will be doing is not just preparing for NMOS, because NMOS is probably over already by the end of term 3. What we want to do is actually prepare us for next year's competitions such as RMO and ABMOBS, which some of you will be going next month. Okay? So a comparison of what we are learning in our NMOS syllabus and ABMOBS and RMO syllabus is that actually, although they are under the same topic such as angle calculation, you can see immediately that those questions in NMOS are seemingly much easier. Okay? You see this one? That figure looks so much more complicated already, right? So yes, we'll be moving on to harder questions as well as start preparing for next year's competitions in our term 3. So for parents, this is our term 2 class timetable. So on here, yes, so our class will be in period 1, starting from 31st, and then it will be 4 days consecutive, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then after that 1 day of break. Then continuing another 4 days. Alright? So for those of you who realize that, that timing, you are probably going overseas. Okay, so for parents, if you have arrangements for those lessons, for those dates, okay, you can actually let me know, and then you are able to swap to our period 2, which is supposedly in this week up here. Alright? So the other timings are also available. If you really need to change the timings, you just have to let me know. So to ensure the benefits of our current students, so yes, starting from yesterday up till next Sunday, okay, March 9th. So all of us current students are actually already enrolled in our term 2 and term 3 classes on the app. Just that on the app, it will show that here there is pending payment. So what it means is that, your slots are already pre-booked, kind of, to ensure that you are definitely able to continue on if you are willing to. So it works like this. For those of you who want to change classes, what you have to do is after you submit the payment, then you'll be registered under the class. And then after that, you can choose to transfer to other classes if you would like to. Okay, such as the Sunday class. So how it works is that I'll just have a brief idea of how many students are there in each class. Usually Saturday class there's around 12 students. And my Sunday class there's around 8 to 9 of them. Okay, assuming that none of them transfer around. So that means that being 16 maximum slots. For Sunday class there's 7 empty slots that people can transfer to. So yes, those 2 classes have much more vacancy. I mean, both of our classes have a lot of vacancy. So I would say that it is not that urgent to rush to transfer if you really need to. But to note the importance is that after March 9th, okay, all the slots will not be booked anymore. So that means that other students are able to just select the same lesson and then join. So if the class is full, then you will not be able to remain in the class. So parents, the main important date is that next Sunday. March 9 at midnight. Okay, so in the meantime, I'll be sending a few reminders on Saturday and Sunday to remind about this. Okay, so if there are any questions about the registration, you can ask about me now. Parents, any questions about the transfer or anything? No? Okay, so if so, yeah, then that is the end of our parents-teacher meeting. So for those parents who do not want to remain in the classroom, you can just leave while we start our lesson soon.